for the longest time. And I love your
Yeah.
wisdom. But that's what I really want, like Bigfoot, understanding like hot spouts, or how was they first made, or how were they first found, and is there a connection, do you think, to like Nephilim or giants, like
Well,
these?
people a lot of say that I have the guy I do my podcast with. He's very expert on Nephilim. We've done several podcasts on. We've done about 3 or 4 podcasts on Nephilim, and he thinks that Bigfoots are Nephilim. The son of my great uncle who took the first plaster cast and named Bigfoot, Jerry Crew, he thought they were Nephilim. I personally don't know. I think they're more a product of. See, there's 2 types of evolution: fake and real. Fake is macro evolution. There's no there's no species, changing. There's nothing. It's a religion. They have like 5 iconic, examples. Oh, Lucy and Nebraska Man. And it all turned out to be like the pig, the tooth bone of a pig or some ridiculous. It's just fake. There would be billions of pieces of fossil evidence if that were true. There's nothing. So then, well, let's just put in 50 billion years and it must happen then. They write in all this stuff like that. And actually, all the museums have these depictions of these Neanderthals that were created by artists that were not real. Okay, even like back to the pre-flood, there was huge amounts of technology back then.
Right. Yes,
some people say the same technology that the Nazis got from fallen angels. That's a whole nother subject. But I believe then there's microevolution. And microevolution is the adaptation of species. Okay, like the dogs up in the Antarctic, they have a thicker coat. They, they adapt to their species. And several hundred years ago, there were earthquakes so big. For example, the Mississippi flowed backwards. Parts of Oregon rivers were decimated by mountains falling on them. And I believe that the Indians that were living around there just went mad and went into the woods, and through because they lost a lot of the women, and through interbreeding and having to suddenly live on a whole different pace just to survive in the woods, they became Bigfoots. So I believe that they're human. People say, well, I saw Bigfoot and then I saw it 500 feet later. It must have gone through some portal. No, you don't understand. They travel in families. So the one you saw pop up and then pop up down there is not the same one. Yeah. But who knows? I mean, I'm not the authority. I could be proven wrong, but that's what I believe. I just recently read something about that they thought the Bigfoot was originally Cain, who was commanded by God to wander the earth.
Yes, sir.
And I'd never heard that one before. That was a pretty interesting thing. Yeah. But my father was there and my uncle were there. And I knew Jerry Crew as a kid. He came and, he taught Sunday school. He didn't drink. He was a very respected guy. And when he discovered and did the print in 1958, he took it to Humboldt County newspaper and they did a picture and it went global in 1958. Global. There's like 5,000, phone calls came through in the first week from all over the world. And the owner of the logging company started getting upset because all these people were quitting. So they got spooked. And so anyway, just there's so much that I uncovered. But my uncle took the cows. He never saw them. He heard them. He smelled them. He felt their presence. He like caught a glimpse for a second, but that's it. My other uncle, Jim, my dad's brother, I opened my film. I spent 2 years writing the screenplay. And what I wanted to do is take all the myth out of it and tell the real story, get the real, what really happened. And we start out in Shasta. It's getting dark. They logged these roads on the mountain, and meaning that they had these tractors and they would cut down these trees and create a road. And the dust on it was so thick they had to water down the roads. That's what my father used to do. That he worked his way through medical school watering down these roads. Anyway, his younger brother Jim, such a cool uncle, man. This guy grew up and he rode a Harley. He grew up and worked at Steinhardt Aquarium in San Francisco. And swam with the dolphins and fed the needle-nosed gar. Used to take me behind the scenes. It was so cool, man. What a great uncle. He was so cool. Well, he was heading back from doing his laundry up one of these roads they had carved, and it was getting dark. and his Harley blew a gasket. So he had to park it and try to walk quickly up to back to his motorhome. Now, when it gets dark in the woods, child, it is black. And he's going up this road that they had carved out, trying to hurry. And he looks down and you can see Willow Creek right there through the trees. And he suddenly is aware that something is keeping pace with him. And he goes, huh. And they started to walk a little faster. And then it started to walk a little faster. And then he got a little more spooked and he started running and it started to run. And then he stopped and he picked up a rock and he threw it and it hit the thing. And the thing got down on its knees and howled a howl that he remembered all his life. It froze his blood. And he bolted. I'm sorry?
Some type of fear. They freeze in their tracks. They become paralyzed. I've heard of things like
Well, he wasn't paralyzed. This guy's a tough guy. But he just ran back and he jumped in his motorhome and there was nothing else that happened that night. But that's my opening for the film. You know, there's some amazing stuff I got to uncover. I got to interview Peter Byrnes. He's 96 years old right now, and he hunted the Yeti in the Himalayas. I mean, his history is, he's like, they call him the Indiana Jones and the Don Quixote. This guy, man, he hunted, there's $100 history books about him hunting elephants in India. I mean, it was just such an honor. I interviewed him like 5 times. And he told me all this dirt, man. There was Ray Wallace, and he was the owner of the logging company. And he was like this kind of hillbilly, couldn't really read or write. And he was really jealous of my uncle, my great uncle, because of the fame he got. And he didn't want any fame. It went so big. And he was also upset because people were quitting, you know. They were quitting. Oh, no, I know there's something out there. I'm quitting, you know. And there was a guy named Tom Slick, who was a millionaire from Texas, who had hired a bunch of people to hunt Bigfoot. And he had Peter Byrnes fly in there and fire them all because they weren't doing anything. You know, 2 of them were in jail, and one of them was living in San Francisco. You're going to hunt Bigfoot in San Francisco? Okay. And this other guy named John Green, he wouldn't even answer the phone when he, heard Peter is in town. I got all this dirt on like Ray Wallace. Like there was this meeting where Ray Wallace got wind of this rich city man coming in. He was going to meet him. Yeah. So they met him at the Willow Creek Inn, Peter Byrnes and Tom Slick, and they waited for Ray. Ray walked in and they had howdy. And he said, I have a baby Bigfoot. And Tom Slick goes, okay. And where? He goes, at my place. He was like, how much do you want for him? And he looked around and started sweating. He goes, $25,000. This is back in 1960. And he's like, okay. Pulled out a check, wrote 25,000, put it on the table. Ray reached for it. He goes, bam. Nope. Where is it? You got to bring him. And he goes, oh, okay. Okay, well, I'll bring him tomorrow. Same time. I'll be okay. So he got up and he sheepishly ran out. And they're like, yeah, this is not going to happen, So anyway, they came back the next day and he was late and he came back in really sheepishly. Well, he got sick during the night and I let him go, like what? All this dirt, amazing stuff I got to uncover. So I stuffed it all in this script and amazing stuff though. They found fecal matter and they had it analyzed at the UC Berkeley. And they said that they don't know what species it was from, but it was definitely carnivorous because there was little animal bones in it. Mm-hmm. And they said that there was parasites in it from apes and humans that are only found in apes and humans. That's all they could tell them. So, So, I mean, they found my Uncle Jim worked with Peter to hunt Bigfoot for 2 years for Tom Slick. And they found whole areas where like they had taken down this bunch of moss and created beds for them. That's where they found the fecal matter and a bunch of bones and everything. And the bones were they were gnawed by teeth that were flat, not carnivorous little sharp fangs they're like human teeth that were gnawing on the bones, stuff like that. There's so much different evidence and stuff. But I mean, I was awash with this stuff for 2 years. I was like, wee. Yeah, it was quite amazing. I got to talk with Jerry's youngest son, who helped me, Wade Crew, and Wade was on a Bigfoot uh, TV show, and he didn't like being in the public. I tried to get him to come on my podcast. He doesn't want to do that, but he sure helped me on all the history I needed for my script. Yeah, so that was cool. What do you think Bigfoot is?
Oh, I don't know. Honestly, straight up, first of all, I really don't know. That wouldn't be my field, like I said, but I'm amazed at the truth. I'm amazed at awareness. I'm always trying to soak in as much, and especially cryptozoology. I mean, I try to ascertain connections, like the giant of Kandahar in Afghanistan, how he claimed that he shot a red giant, or, or the Sierra Sounds and the Sierra Madres,
Yeah.
and how a soldier collaborated with one of these accounts. And it's fascinating. For example, the soldier that was in Afghanistan met with one of the soldiers that was in the Sierra Madres, and
Right.
he recorded a sound, right? Sounds of Sasquatch, and this was
Well,
verified. And
about those soldiers there, they killed a giant.
Yes,
They killed a Nephilim.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, I saw pictures of that. Yeah,
Yes,
we did a couple series on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Stuff. Yeah, I've always loved that. Actually, when I was a kid, like fourth grade, my dad, who's a cardiovascular surgeon, he came home one day and said, "Well, we're going to Hawaii for 2 weeks." I'm like, "Wee!" This is right in the middle of the school year. And he goes, "I got to go do some operations over there. So you're going to have to, do your homework by the pool at the beginning and whatever, and blah, blah, blah." So we were getting on the plane. I was so excited. And he knew I like ghost stories, like Casper and all that crazy stuff. He bought me a paranormal investigation book thinking it was a ghost story book, just so like a kid's go. No, it was not. It was about paranormal investigations. I was like, woo, so that kind of lit a fire with me. And actually, there's a scene in the Bigfoot movie where when I was a kid, I went to school and I did show and tell Bigfoot. It was like sixth grade. And I just was telling them about Bigfoot, and everyone's going, "Nah, blah, blah, blah." And the teacher goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, Carl, that's all fake." It's like, and I was like, I was practically in tears, this is real. No, it's fake. You should just go by. And so I came home that day and I was going to bed, and my father gets home from surgery, from rounds and stuff. And I'm like on the third floor of this house, and then he pulls into the garage, and he hooked up an intercom from my third floor to the garage so I could say hi to him when he comes in. Anyway, so I was just in bed, and he came up and he goes, what's wrong? And I said, "Well, they made fun of me at school, man, talking about Bigfoot." He goes, "Why?" And he goes, "I said, they said it wasn't real." He goes, "Hold on." And he walked out, and he came back in. He brought the cast from my great uncle, and he set it on my table. He goes, and he told me all about Jerry. He said he took the first cast. And I looked, I couldn't believe it. And he was like, when you have the truth on your side, you don't have to worry about what people say. You don't have to worry about it. Don't get upset. Just they can believe whatever they want. You know the truth." And it was so funny because he said, "No, go to bed now." I go to bed. And like he was such a jokester too. He like put me to bed, and he reached around secretly, flipped on the intercom. And then he put me to bed. "Okay, good night." And he left, he turned off the light and walked out. And I got up and I got my flashlight. I was looking at the cast like, "Ooh, this is so creepy." So I went back in and laid down and trying to go to sleep. My eyes were wide. He had gone down to the basement and did a Bigfoot howl through the intercom. And I went, "Ah!" It was so funny. He thought I'd shoved my head through the bedpost. He came up running. "Whoa!" He goes, "No, that was me." But yeah, he was very cool. I love my dad. I miss him so much. Yeah.
Blessings to that. Yes, sir. So when you mentioned earlier about you believe there's different types of evolution, do you think, and I believe this too, that there's some entity or force out there manipulating our DNA?
Oh, absolutely. There was demonic manipulation of the DNA by fallen angels that was done specifically for two reasons, actually: to distort mankind, what God made, but two, to destroy the bloodline, which prophesied that Jesus would come through and destroy the enemy, Lucifer. It would be destroyed. So anything they could do, they went crazy, man. They did all this genetic manipulation. They made all these crazy mythological beasts that you think that were just fake. They're totally real. we did a whole episode on that. Mermaids and all that stuff is actually Nephilim, but it's the genetics. They did all kinds of experiments, the fallen angels did, and anything they could to do. And then, of course, the Anakim and all these different types of Nephilim that happened. And it was mostly to destroy the bloodline of Christ, because he knew that was going to kick his butt eventually. Yeah. So fascinating stuff. We did a whole podcast on that on Fourth Watch Files. Actually, we did about 3 of them, but actually we did one with Gary Wayne, who's a huge expert on Nephilim and knows all about the different types of angelic beings and descendants. And oh my goodness, it was fantastic. Gary Wayne, it was amazing. Yeah.
Do you know of Mr. L.A. Marzulli?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, yes, sir. He's he's a good friend of mine, but I haven't had an interview with him yet, just in emails. But I've been wanting to get him too on. He's an expert in this field. He has his own little show called Watchers, something like that.
Oh,
he's always busy. Yes.
What is his opinion?
Go ahead, sir.
What does he think about Nephilim?
Ooh. Him directly, he has stated that he feels that there's some form of prophecy involved, and he feels directly that it's Nephilim related. Nephilim. He believes that Bigfoot and Nephilim are somehow directly related. I don't know.
It could be. I don't know. I could be. I was very, very staunchly believing it wasn't for a long time. But my friend Brian Souter really, really impressed on me that all these different manifestations, even mermaids, there were mermaids. There were sirens, they were called in the Bible. We do a whole thing about creatures in the Bible, sirens and dwarves and unicorns, and there's a whole podcast on just that. And we traced. I mean, the unicorn was actually a rhino, but still, there's a lot of beings that were genetically manipulated by fallen angels that produce, and a lot of the for example, even the zodiac, which was created in Babylon, but each of those symbols, Aquarius, whatever, they're all Nephilim. Leo, they're all demonic entities. Nephilim, they're all Nephilim. So when you say, I'm a Leo, it's like, you don't even understand what you're saying. You don't understand. And that's the thing about anything in the occult world. It gives you a little frosting on the outside of which appears like truth, so it can suck you in. Because and then it just sucks you in further, and pretty soon you go, well, I want to see what my horoscope is today. It's in and in and in and in and in. So yeah, that's how it works.
Yes, sir. I agree. Oh no, I completely agree. Yes, sir.
Now you were talking about something that I wanted to address.
Yes, sir. Of course.
I forget. What were you saying about? I can't remember. Yeah, I worked too hard today in the hot sun.
I understand, sir. I just appreciate you squeezing me in, honestly. I know I've been asking a lot, and I appreciate you so much.
Oh, don't worry about it. I love it, man. This is my favorite thing to do. Yeah.
With you, and he said, you have vast experience and knowledge. Gary should really talks highly of you. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna mess with this good soul. And I had to, and then sure enough, and I appreciate you, man. You've been great.
Well, cool, man. Wow. When you meditate, what do you do?
First of all, and I do agree with everything you're saying. I do, honestly. I believe everything comes from God, through God only. I believe everything's a grand puzzle, and many things have been turned into cultish and they're misleading from demonic energies. I do feel this. My main focus is to focus on God, truly and honestly. That's everything goes from the source. I'm not trying to divine anything. I'm not trying to tell any futures. I'm not trying to. All right. The point being is just to see that light within. I'm not trying to foretell anything. This is what I have a lot of people in the occult come to me, and I always say, all your energy is coming from God and should come from God. Don't make any agreement with any demon, make any agreement with any, and I've actually met a couple who are possessed before, and I've had to witness an actual exorcism once or twice.
Oh yeah, my business partner is an exorcist. He does it every day almost. Yeah, and you wouldn't believe how prolific it is.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. Makes sense. Yes, sir. Yeah. So I've always felt a calling, and I know God's in my heart. I know there's a calling and a reason to understand everything in a safe way. It's hard. It can be hard for most. And I believe I truly, and I'm writing a book right now on this subject actually. So really feel for anyone to know that there's a heart of godness always, as long as you have that God. And you're right, most people when they connect right away to something, it's evil. So what I try to implore first of all is not to let that in, to build a foreign barricade in your heart. First of all, to be aware that there's demons out there, there's aliens out there, there's spirits out there. First of all, for the human to become outside the truth, break out of the matrix, so to speak. There's going to be dangers no matter what, though. I hate to say it. I hate to say that. And so it is.
It's true.
All of that